Ladies and gentlemen, what you are witnessing is not pre-recorded. It is happening in real time. I have finally been able to launch Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 for the very first time right now. Now what you can see here, what I'm going to do is actually kind of work inside of my streaming software to see if I can show you what's happening. So on the very bottom of the screen right now, it's saying that there is a download occurring, and it's at 15% right now, activating packages. At this point in time, I am in the central time zone in the Chicagoland area. It is 9:48 p.m. I started this process at around 8:15. If you don't know, by now, Microsoft's servers were overwhelmed with the amount of people trying to open the simulator at the same time. There became a queue. It's been a little bit of a thing that's been ongoing literally all day, and in all honesty, I'm pretty glad that I had to work and it turned out to be a pretty late day, because that would have been really frustrating to sit here and just for 3 hours watch the wheels spin. No, I've been working on it for a relatively considerable amount of time. However, at the same time, I've also seen people say that this process will get to like 97% and then stop. So my fingers are just crossed at this point that Microsoft has reached a solution. I do see some pretty significant progress happening right now with the percentage of this download. The speed is relatively quick. You're watching this in real time. I did start it just a few seconds after I came across this much progress, because I really was not counting on it being in any position to actually work yet. I was anticipating it failing again and just winding up into a screen that pretty much looked like a queue. You were just in a queue, and there was a percentage in the bottom left-hand corner of that screen as well, and wouldn't you know it, that never actually progressed past 0%. But I've only had to wait an hour, and in reality, I mean, come on. We're talking about launching the most sophisticated simulator that we have ever seen. Nothing like this has even been attempted before. Oh my goodness, it looks like I'm in. Enable screen narration. Microsoft Simulator 2024 offers a screen narration option that uses text-to-speech to read the on-screen menus. You can enable this feature here or at any point from the settings menu. Skip. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, I did not think I was going to get this far. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 2024. I made the thumbnail for this video anticipating a failure. And as I'm putting the live stream together, wouldn't you know it, success. The odds are ever in your favor. Based on your system's capabilities, we recommend the following graphics settings. You can review and customize these settings now or at any point from the menu's options. Graphics has a check mark. Controls have nothing. Language has nothing. Low end, medium, high end, or ultra. Higher graphics settings require a more powerful GPU and a reliable high-speed internet connection. This is something we've discussed in prior videos. I'm on a Wi-Fi network. Let me see if I can actually pull a real-time speed test. So if you don't know, what we're going to do here is actually put up a speed test, run a speed test. Honestly, not very impressive. 237.1 on the down and 59.6 on the up, right? Nothing to really write home about, but it does have me selected right now at high end. Not necessarily ultra, but high end. And let's face it, I will once again put up what we're working with right here. So this is what I've got. Ryzen Threadripper 2950X is going to be on board, right? We've talked about this. I've showed you before what my specs are going to be. Here it comes. 16 core, 4.4 gig, 2950X, 128 gigabytes of RAM, 2080 Ti graphics card with a Wi-Fi connection, 11 gigabytes of VRAM, right? We're talking about a relatively older card. This is kind of what I expected. You know, that's what I was working with on the last one prior to moving my settings up to ultra. So this is kind of what I expected. I am not going to customize at this point, and I am just going to do a control and enter to continue. Or can I press this? I can just press it. There we go. You can review and customize these settings now. All assists, I want off default assists. You want a more authentic experience. Did I miss something? Did I hit that twice? No, I was good. Okay, we're going to go back to this. It's nice that you can actually go backwards in the menu. I like that. The check mark stays here. We're going to just click finish the setup. Customize my identity. So now you actually get to see a little bit about what I look like, because if you haven't noticed just yet, I don't have a inset of myself in the videos. I just think that the immersion process here should be more about the video and the content than what I look like as I fly a simulator. Not my jam. Not my jammy jam. You know, it's not about me. It's about the content. Wow, there's some rad looking individuals up in here, huh? Okay. The jawbone. You box a little bit. There's some boxers in here. I love the different diversity though. This is fantastic. Almost looks like Chandler. This is good. I don't know. What do we go with? These are presets, but what do we have in appearance? We can start off with the face. Aren't you a handsome little fella? You know what? Let's see here. It gives us the preview, comes out of it a little bit. For now, it's relative. What else do we got? Look at the diversity in this facial construction. This is actually incredibly cool. Of course, a lot of games have had stuff like this in the past. This isn't the first simulator to have something like this, but here we are. At the bottom of the list. I think the one I checked earlier just might be the one. There are some characters in here. I don't know. Do I even honestly know what I truly look like? And yeah, does it matter? I don't really think so. So we're going to go with the hair next. Now, I am a veteran. I served 7 years in the United States Army Reserves, and I do keep a little bit of a high and tight haircut to this day because I am proud of what I did for my country. Let's see what this looks like on old boy right here. That isn't too bad. Let's start off with something a little bit like that. Now, if they had something like a salt and pepper, because I'll tell you what, old boy over here, that's a little too much. I mean, I got some salt and pepper, but that's a lot of salt right there. How about I'm gonna go with this one right here. We're getting a little bit closer. I don't think I want the glasses though. Curious if I can get rid of those next. Headwear. I don't want to really wear any headgear after the Army. I never really wore hats. I kind of like the sunglass idea, but I'm not sure. Let's see what it looks like without for now. Tops, definitely not going with an airline pilot look or a HEMS mission. I might try to go bomber. Uh, See, and since they have, oh, we do have uniforms. I'm going to go straight here, right? Why don't you just pick up your head? What is this orange little jumpsuit we got right here? It looks like, can we spin around our character? You know, normally you can like use a right mouse click or, you know, a click and drag over the top of your character and kind of spin them around. I don't have any type of logos or anything on there, but it's not horrible. I do kind of like the flight suit option, even though it is OD green. Color options are available. So what do we have here? Color options are non-existent. Okay, so we'll just go back. Interesting. I'd like to see that updated. I'll tell you that right off the bat. Absolutely. If we're going to be doing HEMS missions, can we have the option to have a little bit more of an authentic flight suit? Switch up the color scheme of what you've got right here. Add a little bit of a logo option for the different liveries that you have. And go from there. You know what I mean? Let's get some more options out there. Day one, still pretty cool. I think that's exactly who I'm going with. Flight suit this. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 Marketplace content has been purchased previously. Okay, so what this is saying is what I've purchased in Marketplace within 2020 is not going to be available just yet. I like the transparency on that. They're straightforward with you, and I am not going to beat around the bush. The first thing we need to do is figure out our controls and see if they have default settings. And if they do, I'm going to turn that into a custom setting, but I'd like to see if they have something I could start with. Graphics language, I'm going to go with graphics settings, camera options. We have here cockpit, we can default. Okay, so toggle focus mode, free look mode. This isn't necessarily a controls option, but just general horizontal position, zoom speed. Okay, flight model. I want to get into this, and I want flight modern. Oh, we have modern or legacy. Cancel legacy. I want modern. Modern it is. Global preset, realistic, yes. Generals, crash, gyro. We're going to leave everything at 100. Flight interface, visualizations. Again, we're going to leave this all for later if I need to. None of this necessarily needs to be. Okay, add a new window. I like the way you can do that, so I could actually use a triple monitor setup. Dig it. Assistances, we have helicopter assists is checked. I want those unchecked. Visual assistance, gyro drift. Yeah, I don't know if I'm flying any gyrocopters, but I'm going to unselect it anyway, just in case it has anything to do with a rotorcraft. Active waypoint markers off, flight paths off, ribbons off, pilot and controlling notifications off, realism, crash damage on. I told you I want to keep this real. Let's do this. You know what I mean? If I'm going to go in, let's go all in. Disable crash damage. No, that stays off. Right? I don't want it enabled. I need to keep it disabled. Icing effect is on. Unlimited fuel is off. Turbulence realistic. G-suit is jet pilot. G-suit, we will put that on just in case I decide to fly something fast here. ATC communications off and off. Enforcement plan. Good. Okay. Controls. Cessna Skyhawk change aircraft. We're going to go into helicopter, and we are immediately going. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, 2024 is upon us. Here we go. You know I'm going for that Airbus H225. We've talked about this in the past. There we go. Save and back is what I'm going to do. Okay, and then once I go back, I'm going to go return to the controls menu and change the aircraft, because you can see right now I don't have an aircraft selected. So that looked like an error to me. So let's go from here and say this one, but configure. Even though the check mark is there, I want to see what kind of preset this is actually shipped with, if it has any. All right, we got a lot more options here. The variant is checked. The livery is an option. We've got default blue. It's going to take a while for these things to load first time through. Or are these just not even here? They are. They just take a little while to load in here. There's an active menu system. I don't know if I want the orange or not. Ooh, I didn't know there would be so many choices. Right off the bat, ladies and gentlemen, this is looking really good. Buy more liveries is an option directly from this menu instead of having to back out and go into the marketplace. Do I stick with default? I think I am for now, because again, we're just going to free flight this. Fuel and payload. Total mass to manage it. Manage and mass and F&B. Not really worried about this. Let's see. To manage and distribute the payload. Manage mass and F&B. Quick tour around. Skip. This is your EFB flight bag. It will be accompanied to flights. Plan fuel seats. Okay. Seats are here. This is the front of the aircraft. So we're going to put in 170. So all of these look like they are. Can we type in? Yes, we can. We're going to put everybody in there at $170. Why not? And we're going to load the bad boy up because that's how we roll. We go full crew every single time. When you need the help and it's not there, all you do is regret what you're doing. All right, load in the aircraft. We'll try fuel first. So it's a decent amount. We're at 17,193 total pounds, 421 gallons of fuel. Load it in, or we say empty. No, we don't want to empty it. So let's go ahead and load in the aircraft. The loading of your aircraft was successful. We can actually exit out of that menu right now. We'll go to ident, tail number. Well, this is a 0675 flight because we are SAR Heli 241. Flight number 001. We do not need to append heavy. Everything looks good from here. What's interesting, though, is there's not a really obvious way to go into the flight from here. But we'll say save and back because I like saving things. That's a nice option. Marketplace is there. Other helicopter, we're good. Save and back once again. It seems a little bit clunky. Just a little bit. I still don't see which aircraft I've selected here, but all of those check marks were in place. So, we've discussed this. Our first option is the island of Reunion. Look at the amount of heliports we already have. Before we had Galat, we had one over here that we don't see, and I believe with Felix. I just saw it. Chou de Saint Pierre was one. Saint Denis was one. But we all see this. This is going to be fantastic. Now, which is the airport? We just zoom in a little bit closer to it. She's straight away. This is the spot. This is what we have been waiting for. I don't know about you, but I am stupid excited right now. I can barely talk. I'm not crying or anything. That was just a little bit over exaggeration. What do you do from here? Start as departure. It looks like our flight conditions can be altered up here in the upper right. We're going to go with live flight conditions. Real time doesn't look like that's going to be too good. Let's see if we can put this slider into like an afternoon. I want to see this in all of its glory. 1000%. Let's do this to this. That should be good. Live multiplayer is going to be set to all players because if we're going to go, let's go. Save and back. Start flight. We'd never verified what the controls were like, and I've seen a lot of people run into issues straight away without things being bound. But I don't know. I think I'm going to roll the dice and experience this firsthand. I can already see this is an incredible kind of load-in screen. It doesn't seem to be taking much less time than normal, but let's see here. I can enjoy the fact, oh, we're in. So I enjoy the fact that the water was moving in that load-in screen. That was pretty nice. Interesting. I see I'm letting this cache itself. Something else that I didn't do is verify what location the new sim is caching to. And I think the caching in this sim is going to be relatively important. It looks like we got some moving jetways going on here. It looks like it's loaded pretty well. Toggling it into fly. Okay, so I'm currently using the mouse. To look around. Tab to toggle the EFB. Joystick button 3 to toggle the pins. The usual keyboard W, A, D, and S are what I'm going to use to walk around the aircraft. It seems like it's a really fast camera. I've hit the escape button and now my aircraft is disappeared, but I can still see the seats, dashboard, and overhead panel floating over the parking spot. Very interesting. I love being able to point out these bugs firsthand and truly getting into what this is all about. What I don't see, though, is anything I don't like. It's very, very interesting. I'm trying to, oh, there we go. The arrow keys are going to get me to turn. It doesn't look like I have covers over any of these tubes. It doesn't look like there's any chocks on the wheels. Nothing on the wheels is something you can press. So far, I want to say that this startup is pretty clunky. Sure, I can open a door. We got that. We're getting there. How do I get in the damn aircraft, though? This is the one thing that's truly interesting right now, is everyone said when you get into these aircraft, you're going to have to remove the chocks. Make sure your pitot tubes are uncovered. You're going to do a full walk around on the aircraft. There's not a lot about this other than just, hey, I'm looking at it, that I can really interact with. Everything looks to be in good working order, but even if I come up to my tail rotor to inspect the blades, I'm not getting interaction with it. Very, very interesting. Not what I expected. See, all of the videos that I've seen up to this point have been airplanes. There aren't a lot of people out here streaming the videos related to helicopters, so this is the first time I've ever seen this aspect of it. What do we have here? FCR. FCR embedded. Interesting, interesting, interesting. It almost looks like a text box. It would be nice if you had something about getting into a helicopter. Basic controls, yeah, okay. FCR embedded, toggle communication. A lot more in depth than let's see here. I actually think what I need to do is go back to the settings. Sound on my camera, flight model, flight interference controls, mouse, keyboard categories. So if we say radio, flight control surfaces, lights, instruments, autopilot, brakes, power management, landing gear tools, ornithoptic communications, liquid drop, camera, VR, menu, cockpit settings, player character settings, developer mode. Okay. So in the assistance option, what I think may be very helpful right now, since, let's be honest, this is new, visual assistance, piloting and control notifications. Adjust whether you want on-screen notifications about control inputs during free flight and supported activities. If enabled, you will be able to quickly toggle the visibility of this assist by pressing the toggle visual assistance display. I don't know if that's going to give us what I'm looking for. So what I want is basically like the call-outs when you would hover your cursor over something. That would have to be an assistance. Let's give this one a whirl because it's really kind of the only. It's really the only one that has anything to do with it. Accessibility wouldn't be it. Narration and audio. Do we really want to go that far? Like, do we want to turn that on? One thing that I've done here too is we've gotten this entire time so engrossed in what we're doing. I haven't played any music yet. I think we should get that started, and maybe this will help us get through this a little better. Maybe. We'll see. Effects and animation, narration, and audio. Enable screen narrator. I don't think I want to go that far, but I think at the same time it's going to be fun to hear this. Let's go ahead and turn this desktop audio down just a little bit so that music isn't as loud, and resume. Let's see if my cursor has stopped moving completely. The helicopter blade has started spinning, but I can no longer see the cursor for my computer. I hit escape again and I get it back. Resume. Now I'm here, no cursor. Interesting. Wow, okay, so why would all of a sudden my cursor go completely away and lose control? I think maybe the idea of music isn't all that it was cracked up to be. Let's replace this with the audio from Microsoft Flight Simulator instead. What do you say? Restart. Because now it'll have the narration in. We'll see what happens. First flight complete in any game mode. Yeah. Sure. I never got off the ground, but thanks. I appreciate the recognition. Loaded in it really quickly. Terrain up here looks really good. We did mention, though, that this wasn't going to be as dense. And here we are. It does look completely different. Once again, I've got no cursor. Why is this? Let's think this through. Is this literally just a glitch to the point where we have to start outside of the aircraft? Or should we try this if we end the flight? I'm going to try to see if I can fast track this. Because when we're in this mode and we're planning a flight, the option to take off at a runway is still available. And normally, ooh, look at this. We got a 75 nautical mile visibility. Clouds at 2,516 feet. A wind of 2 knots from 270. We're in VFR conditions. Really nicely done. I like that information right there. Nice touch. But do we start in a flight ready condition? Loads in the clouds. Wow, look at the difference in the load time. Well, instead of actually spawning us at the end of that runway where we said we wanted to take off, it has moved this chopper onto a helipad. Intriguing. Intentional by Microsoft or not? Okay, I am not even on the controls yet, and she wants to tip over. Hopefully that's just a first time loading in occurrence. The camera is also drifting down on its own. I'm using a hat switch that I would normally use for this camera that's on my throttle to look around. It's almost like this is remembering my setup from my last flight in the H-145. Sort of. Very close. If it is floating around all by itself and drifting. My throttle collective in good condition. I've got working cyclic. I've got working pedals. Well, I haven't figured out an exterior view yet, but this thing is light on its skids right now. It really just, it doesn't want to stay on the ground. And this camera drift is something we're going to have to fix. And I think this is, again, just a matter of the sensitivities of controls. But let's go ahead. Lift off. Flight number 1, 2024 in a helicopter. H225 is shaking real good right now. Even though my torque settings are not... There we go. Very hard to manage. So again, this is a sensitivity issue. You can see that torque in there changing quite a bit. Sensitive controls, very sensitive controls. Completely new flight model. There was no input on the tail rotor there, and apparently we caught a gust of wind. This is a completely different flight model. Do I want to? Yeah, sure. Okay, we'll raise those. Learning things at the same time. /? Button becomes landing gear. With our view here while we fly around, let's take a look around this aircraft a little bit. Wow, look at this cockpit. And the difference with the ray tracing right now, enjoyable. Yes. Let's spend some time in here. There's the landing gear switch right there. The button on the keyboard didn't work, but the control surface appears to have worked properly. Here's our first. Wow, look at the tail rotor control sends this into an oscillation. Any minor input at all, and I mean very minor. You can see my cyclic and inputs happening in pretty real time right there. I am not moving these at all, practically. I mean, very small inputs. I mean, that's the key to a proper helicopter flight anyway, but that is wildly out of control. I don't know if that has anything to do with the wind, but there is more than just turbulence happening in this. It almost feels as though an autopilot has taken over. I don't have collective control at this point. I've kind of gone into a all of a sudden I'm getting, see, wait a minute, what just happened with the rotors? Why are we going through the same thing that we went through yesterday? Is this like an EMF cloud that I'm carrying with me? What is happening? Because none of the altitude hold buttons or anything like that are active, right? I am coming down just a little bit now, but the controls seem to have an intermittence to them. Yeah, the collective is almost non-responsive at points, and it seems to go into a hover. I did take off rather quickly. I don't think a pre-flight check was even considered. However, it's really interesting the way the collective just seems to stop reacting to the input. Lot of oscillation. I don't think that is turbulence. If it is, that is a violent turbulence. Let's see what frame rates are doing. I am not using the scaler. This is base sim. FPS becomes unavailable. Why is that? GPU 99%. Yeah, but it won't even track the frame rate. I think our max was something like 86 with the ultra settings and the scaler. 99% of the GPU is being used at this point. I did let MSFS 24 choose my graphics settings by default. I will say that graphically it doesn't look that bad. There's definitely no trees disappearing. However, the flight model of this chopper at this point is leaving a little to be desired. Although this is my first time in this aircraft, I don't really have a reference. I'm not flying the H-45 like I have been for over 1,000 hours. However, ladies and gentlemen, we should also probably, what do you think? I know you thought about it before I did. I don't even know how long it's going to take those to go down, but let's see if we can wait for a button. It changed there. That's still in a yellow. There we go. All green. Looks like we're good. Okay. I like it. Coming down pretty quick. Yeah, the ground effect definitely in effect. This flight model could just be as accurate as we think it is. That was a really hard landing. Really, really, really hard. To keep this thing on the ground, though, I think what I'm going to do, it just wants to take off. And the drift of the camera, I think this might be a sensitivity issue with the hat switch that is bound to that camera. But I think I need to try a fixed wing real quick. What do you think? Or do we take a minute here to kind of look around this helicopter? If I take my hand off of that control for just a second, right? I had a real nice steady almost hover going there for a second, but it's a hands-on ordeal to get this thing to stay on the ground. It literally just wants to take off. If we come down here to my collective, I can't roll off any power either. So somewhere in this aircraft, I'm curious if there is the drift in this camera. Wow, there is so much wrong with that. Trim feel, auto trim, yaw and roll pitch, autopilot 1 and 2. Are these all, let me get the button, call outs active 2, low altitude warnings, MMU ready signal 5. Look at this. Everything seems to be an actionable button too. Flight minute. See, this thing. What is happening right now with this? It doesn't want to stay on the ground at all. Back on track. You crashed. I crashed? No, I'm sorry. My power was completely pulled out of the aircraft. And for some reason, you did not want to consider that safely on the ground. Let's see here. What to do, what to do. Do I actually spend the time right now to start binding some of these controls? I think that might not be a bad idea. And then let's turn some weather off to get a comparison. If this is turbulence in its realist form, or if it's an issue with the flight model. Again, this is something that I haven't seen in the simulator from any other streamers or from Microsoft. There's been no content that I have seen that is geared around helicopters. Oh my goodness. It's almost overwhelming at this point. It truly is. All of that excitement has come to this moment. And there's so many new things. It's kind of to the point where you have to ask yourself, where do you want to start? And I can only say this one way: to each their own. You do you. If you, at this point, just were here to see what it looks like, you've got some content. If you want to see the time that it takes to put into this, no, I get it. Watch, learn. But I'm going to struggle through this, I'll tell you that right now. So if we go helicopters here, okay, I'm going to struggle through this. Some of this stuff should just be by default, right? Let's do some general controls. Helicopter controls. None. TWCS throttle 2024 or none. Specific controls. Let's start here. Ooh, so we can actually name an aircraft. This is what they were talking about in their pre-release, where you can create a model, or I should say a configuration of button mapping for each specific aircraft, and then recall it. Every time that helicopter loads, I believe that setup should automatically load with it. So many things to consider at this point. Set as default, rename, or clear. So let's see here. Let's search by name. I want to search by name. Can we do that instead of search by input? Hardware settings, sensitivity. This is also another really, really important feature. So this is joystick access X. I am using all of the controls at this point. I'm cycling the cyclic. I am actuating my collective and rudders with no response. And as I cycle through this and do that, none of these values on the right hand side change. In the previous sim, you would get a display of which axis was which. So this is throttle control L axis. See, this kind of thing needs to be more interactive. I want to see what input is what. And you're not giving me the visualization of which input is which. throttle access really isn't something that I would normally change, but considering the issues I was having with that, please enter a name for this new input profile. So it's forcing me to do anything to do this first. So we're going to call this the H225. I'm not applying it to all aircraft. We're just going to hit OK. Once again, the L axis on the throttle has I don't know. It's a matter of just trial and error, right? I normally don't put a dead zone in there. I like that to be fluid. Extreme dead zone is 0. We're good. So I think what I'm going to do is actually put all of these to the same value of 0.2. Trial and error, trial and error. This is going to be a process, and this is just those growing pains with a new sim. And it's a learning curve for Microsoft, because we used to see that telemetry move in real time when we would actuate the controls. And again here, okay, this is the throttle, but where do I go back to select the control inputs for this? Would be here. Okay, so by selecting that on the left side, then I can get here. And now if I go to specific control settings, again, no, that wasn't it. Where did I find that general controls settings? Helicopter controls. Apply duplicate name, TWMC. At least now you can see what kind of setup I'm working with, all nice and clearly. You know, you can see the model number of my HOTAS. Hardware settings. That's where it was. Again, forcing me to do this for each one. Arduous tasks. Arduous tasks. I don't know if they're even going to be necessary. We might have to come back and change all of this. We can't get to 0.2 here, huh? Yes, we can. It's a little finicky with it, though. Why are we putting, like, I'm a little confused as to why a 1 comes out as, or a 2 comes out as a 1. Okay, we're gonna go back. It's interesting though that it's not asking me to save this. Search by input, scanning. Joystick button 1, helicopters. Assistance to automatically trim your aircraft. Scan canceled. See, what's interesting here is this is also being cut off. What else does it say there? Is it just button 7 and joystick what? Joystick button 1. It's being cut off. So if I add that in scan canceled, if I hit settings on this, input repetition is something else that I've seen people have problems with. Apply to all aircraft, set as default. Yes and yes. I do not want the button to be automatically, repetitively pressed every time I just press one time. That is essential. Hopefully at this point in the video, you people have stayed on board and you've seen either that here for the first time or you've seen someone else go through that. That's something you want to deselect. And apparently right now it's by default that way. So you want to deselect that input repetition every single time. Input value is set control on release. Delete assigned control. Delete assigned control. And then even when I do that, I can't go back in. Joystick button 1 was toggle smart camera. Quick trim conflict. Delete assigned control. There's primary and secondary. Very, very interesting. 2 different layers of controls. Control listener is grayed out. Let's go back. Scan canceled. Joystick button 1, toggle smart camera. Well, what I'd like to do is get the list of what's what. Now it's back to search by input. Flight control surfaces, control trimming. Let's see if we can delete assigned control. Go back. Increase rotor lateral trim. I want all of this for now. See, I am saying to delete the control. However, tweak active curve is also an option, but it's not selecting it anymore. It's still showing it as an option. Interesting. Is it really taking that long to delete a control? Reset trim rotor. See, it's grayed out. And then all of a sudden it just vanishes. So right now all of these have been deselected. Secondary control surfaces. Flaps. See, and it doesn't have anything as far as helicopters really go. Spoilers set, primary control surfaces. Horizontal thrust vector, set vertical speed. That's kind of autopilot stuff. Elevator up and down, center rudder, cyclic left. Okay, so now we are starting to get into and again, I'm just clicking on those and then actuating that input. Decrement tail rotor, increment tail rotor. Aileron access, elevator access, set cyclic lateral access. Cyclic lateral access. Longitudinal access. 2, those are set. Tail rotor access. I want to try to delete it. Go back. Tail rotor access. Scanning. Wrong device. So I see what you did there. However, it is not recognizing my pedals. I have a device list with a keyboard, throttle, and the T16000M. However, my pedals aren't being recognized. Wrong device. It's saying wrong device, so it's recognizing an input. What if we did search by input? Wrong device again. Interesting. Filters none, filters assigned. Okay. I think I'm going to make a decision because we could literally sit here in this stream for about 9 hours, and I have a feeling that each person is going to have their own experience with this, and I don't want to have you watching something that you could literally just pull up another channel and watch. I can give that, view it to another person. What I want to do is just take my time to set this up the way I like it and not have to bother you with it. So I just want to say thank you for joining us. 2024 is here. We are working in it. I'm going to try to get this to be a working simulator by the next time I stream, hopefully sometime tomorrow, and we are going to go from there. But I don't want to go through this process with you guys kind of just hanging out, watching me suffer through this. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think what we're going to do is the right thing. We are going to call this a day, and we'll close it with the open. Thanks for joining.